The story starts off with a group of friends talking about their upcoming field trip on this very famous attraction called Deadman Wonderland. As their class starts, what seems like a normal day for Ganta quickly becomes a never-ending nightmare as a man in red showed up outside of their classroom and quickly obliterated their whole class in an instant, leaving only Ganta alive. Not only that, the man in red also implanted a red orb in his chest, which made him unconscious. Waking up in a hospital bed, Ganta was then visited by the police because he just became the prime suspect for the killing of his whole class. A suspicious lawyer was also among the police who visited him, and this lawyer vows to defend him on his upcoming trial. But on the day of the trial, said lawyer fucked him up, planting false evidence about him which resulted in Ganta getting the capital punishment. Now a death row inmate, Ganta was then admitted to a correctional facility or a prison dressed as a Wonderland, the first publicly funded Coliseum-style penal colony, Deadman Wonderland. The same Deadman Wonderland that he and his classmates were supposed to go on their field trip. In this hellish wonderland, all inmates wear neckbands that monitor them 24/7. These neckbands also pump poison on the wearer every minute, so they need to eat these candies every 3 days if they want to combat the poison and prevent them from dying. More on those candies later on. In Ganta's first day on the Wonderland, as he was working in the yard, a strange white-haired girl named Shiro approached him and low-key tried to kill him. And in a not-so-accidental fashion, a bomb was detonated, destroying one of the buildings where Ganta and Shiro is directly under. It's like someone's testing him, but we still don't know who. Vowing not to die as the big debris quickly falls into Ganta and Shiro, the orb in Ganta's chest starts to activate and his blood forms into a weapon which shields him and his inmate from death. And then we cut to an ominous figure, which is revealed to be the lawyer who is actually working for the prison. He was the one behind the bomb detonation, and also he has a weird fascination towards Ganta, but we still don't know at this point what his overall goal is. To really showcase how terrible of a place Deadman Wonderland is, Ganta and Shiro participate in a dog race show inside the Wonderland. Whoever wins this game gets 100,000 cast points, or CP, which is the currency inside the prison. The candies that I mentioned earlier are worth 100,000 CP each, and that's Ganta's main goal, to earn enough CP to be able to buy a candy before he dies of poisoning. So he and Shiro play this deadly game where dangerous traps and deadly contraptions await them. In the finals, only 3 of the participants, including Ganta and Shiro, survived. And in the final moments, Ganta throws away the winning prize in order to save Shiro, which is a very heartfelt moment. But this means in just a few hours, he'll die, because he has no money and no candy to prevent the poison in his neck. This is where Yo comes in, Ganta's cellmate. For reasons still unknown, he's very fond of Ganta, and actually gave Ganta a candy for free and even treated him to ice cream at the yard. And surprisingly, the man in red showed up again, and begins terrorizing other inmates. Ganta, with his pent-up rage surfacing after seeing the man in red, started to activate his powers and fires a blast of blood energy which drove off this killer. In the next scene, we see a group of important-looking people in a round table discussing matters regarding the prison. One of them is the lawyer, who is now known as Tamaki the Promoter. And now we also learn that the man in red actually came from inside the prison and is regarded as their biggest secret. Moments after we see the lawyer, now known as Tamaki, chatting with Yo about Ganta, turns out Yo was actually working for Tamaki in exchange for CPs. After the incident in the yard, Ganta ended up in the infirmary. There he heard some inmates talking about a mysterious man in red restraints who is permanently locked in the G block for his destructive capabilities. Ganta thought this was the same red man, so he immediately went to the G block. At the same time, the head warden issued a complete prison lockdown after the whole red man incident. The goal of the lockdown is to capture Ganta and kill him. So, we have Ganta currently going to G block and the head warden pursuing him so he could eventually kill him. Shiro and Yo are with Ganta, and Yo quickly explains to them that there is no G block. There are only 6 blocks in the prison, blocks A through F, but Shiro, on the other hand, knows where the hidden G block is located. So now they're on their move to their destination while a killer robot pursues them. Not long after, they eventually arrive at G block, and as the killer robot prepares to kill them all, the man in the red restraint busts out of the G block, destroying the killer robot and makes his badass entrance. Now it's Ganta vs Senji, also known as the Crow. Senji also uses the same blood techniques that the red man and Ganta use. But Ganta immediately realizes that Senji is not the red man, so the fight eventually stopped. But in this fight, we learned from Senji that there are a few people in this prison who can also use the same blood technique. They are called Deadman, and they are infected by the branch of sin. That's why they're able to use their blood as a weapon. The guards of the facility immediately arrive at G-Block and fire tranquilizers at Senji and Ganta, which put them both to sleep. But that's not the last time they're going to meet each other. Ganta is now in the infirmary again, but this time it's a little different. There he meets the lawyer who started this whole thing off. Tamaki then explains to Ganta what's going to happen to him moving forward. First, he's going to need to participate in the Corpse Festival. If you think the dog race or any attractions in Deadman Wonderland are brutal, then you haven't seen anything. Corpse Carnival is a tournament setting where Deadmans who are infected with the branch of sin battle it out. It's a death match between overpowered individuals and it's brutal. If Ganta wins enough rounds, he'll eventually meet the red man who massacred his entire class and also win some candies, and that's the perfect motivation Ganta needs to participate in this bloody tournament. The show doesn't really wait around and immediately starts off the first fight. It's Ganta the Woodpecker versus Senji the Crow. At first glance, the winner of the fight is already decided. Ganta is a newbie and Senji is a veteran, so it's no question that Senji would win. Ganta fired off a few blood blasts, but immediately felt the effects of his blood loss and started to faint a little. This allowed Ganta to bombard Senji with his blood scythe, which immediately knocked Ganta out. But Ganta stood up with all his willpower alone and concocted a strategy on the spot. He fired his bloodshot into the air, which destroyed the chains of the big object at the top. This object fell right into Senji, but he sliced it off rather easily. At that split second, Ganta managed to get in close to Senji and gathered a big blood energy in his palm and fired at point-blank range into Senji's chest, which blasted him off and resulted in Ganta winning the fight. But of course, the losers who didn't die at the match get a punishment. As Ganta was resting on his bed after his win, the TV near him was a broadcast of the loser's punishment. He watched as Senji lost his right eye, which put Ganta into a state of shock. Not long after the first match, Ganta's second match starts against Minasuki, who is revealed to be Yo's sister. She is the reason why Yo entered Deadman Wonderland, to save her. In the middle of Ganta and Minasuki's fight, Yo actually snuck into the stage and they had this whole emotional family moment, and then Ganta finished the match with a headbutt. At the second half of the story, we shift our focus from the Corpse Carnival to a revolution. After Ganta's match against Minasuki, Karako, another Deadman, approached Ganta to join Scarchain, a ragtag group of Deadmans whose main goal is to destroy Deadman Wonderland from the inside out. This is also where the Undertakers join the fray. Undertakers is a special task force created by Tamaki to combat the Deadmans. They're the most heinous criminals inside the prison, and they have the ability to neutralize the Deadman's blood abilities. After Ganta decides to join the Scarchain, he meets Nagi, the leader of the group. He then discusses their whole escape plan to the group. They're going to carry out this plan at the same time as the annual prison inspection done by the government so that they can capitalize on the weak security inside the prison during this time. And so the day of the escape arrived. The plan is that Nagi, their leader, and Rokuro, who is their spy, will go to the control room so they can activate the lift that will lead the rest of the members to the outside world. And in Ganta's hand is a chip that contains all the horrible things that have transpired inside the prison, and their goal is to show this to the entire world so they can close Deadman Wonderland forever. But it's not gonna be easy for him. Nagi and Rokuro get confronted by a child Undertaker, Hibana, and the group gets pursued by a killer robot that spits acid. What's worse is in the control room, Rokuro reveals himself as a double spy and is actually working for Tamaki. And in a close battle with Hibana, Nagi won by a split hair and then punches Rokuro in the face, which enabled him to push the lever that activated the lift to the outside world. But little did they know that another Undertaker by the name of Azumi waits for them on the other side. Most of the group died because of these surprise ambushes, and the chip that Ganta held is actually a bomb, but they managed to avoid that disaster thanks to Shiro, who threw it into the fire, injuring herself in the process. All of these different scenarios escalate to the point of no return, where we learn that Tamaki is actually the son of the director of this prison, and that same director has ties to Shiro. And on top of that, what this old man wants is to die by the hands of Shiro. But not the Shiro that we know, because it turns out that she has a split personality. And this split personality of Shiro eventually kills the director, and it's not explicitly stated, but she might also be the red man who massacred Ganta's whole class, and the one who implanted the red orb into Ganta. Now that the director is dead, Tamaki is now the new director of Deadman Wonderland, and we now enter the final arc. Nagi is captured, the remnants of the Scarchain gather once more in their secret hideout, and Ganta is mad at Shiro for throwing the chip into the fire. He still doesn't know at this point that the chip was a bomb, so that's why. As Nagi is being drugged by Azumi the Undertaker, Rokuro the double spy arrives at the secret hideout along with some Undertakers to kill the remnants of the Scarchain. This is where the group realizes that the chip was a bomb, because Rokuro tells them. Powerless, the remnants of the Scar Chain get captured rather easily, but then another Deadman arrives and saves the day. Senji the Crow now obliterates all the Undertakers with ease. After that, they tried to recruit him to the cause, but he refused because he prefers being alone. Ganta, feeling powerless, seeks the help of Senji, so he could train him before they launch their next attack. And as Ganta trains with Senji, the group launches their attack without him because they don't want him to get involved anymore. And just like the last one, this attack also failed. Kurako gets captured alongside Shiro, who just happens to be there. The capture was also broadcast to the whole prison, which alerted Ganta. Ganta then runs to save Kakuro and Shiro, and as he arrives on the scene, he's greeted by a lot of Undertakers headed by Azumi, and Nagi, who is now the enemy due to the drugs that were pumped into him. Nagi then wreaks havoc on the scene, but immediately regains his consciousness. It is now Ganta and Nagi versus Azumi. Azumi then reveals his trump card, which blasted a hole in Nagami's stomach. He also stabs Kurako in the chest, which angered Ganta even more. In a desperate state, Ganta unleashed a final blast which decimated Azumi, hence winning the battle. After the battle, Kurako and the others escape the place. Tamaki still runs the place, and Ganta and Shiro sit on a rooftop, still dreaming of leaving this hellish place and riding the Ferris wheel together. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos just like this. Thank you for watching.